Did anyone ever tell you the unfiltered truth about life after 80? Stepping into your 80s brings a quiet transformation, one that few people ever talk about. It's not the obvious changes like birthdays with fewer candles or a slower morning routine. It's the deeper, more private shifts, the ones that settle into your bones when the world goes quiet. Life after 80 is a season marked by wisdom and loss, by presence and distance, by a peaceful kind of clarity, and at times a profound loneliness. And unless someone has warned you about these changes, they can sneak up on you. They don't come with flashing signs or loud announcements. They drift in slowly until one day you look around and wonder, why didn't anyone tell me it would feel like this? In this video, we'll walk through 5 raw and often overlooked realities of life after 80. Not to frighten you, not to make you sad, but to bring you clarity. Because when you can see what's coming, you're no longer at its mercy. You can prepare. You can stand tall and meet it with strength instead of surprise. We'll explore what happens when your social circle shrinks, when your body doesn't bounce back like it used to, when independence turns into quiet dependence, when the world begins to look right through you, and when time gives you space that feels more like reflection than purpose. Some of these truths will feel heavy, but within them is the power to shape your final chapter with a strength and dignity that no one else defines for you. Let's talk about what really happens after 80 and how you can walk through it with open eyes, steady hands, and your head held high. Number 1, a social circle that quietly disappears. One of the first realities that begins to hit after 80 isn't about your health, it's about your relationships. It's not your legs or your eyesight that catch you first. It's the silence. The people who once filled your days slowly begin to fade from view. Longtime friends pass, neighbors move away, siblings stop calling as often. Even close companions who used to check in weekly suddenly only reach out every few months. It's not because they stopped loving you. It's just life. Time does that. But even understanding that doesn't fill the emptiness it leaves behind. You might still be strong, sharp, and independent, but that doesn't keep the quiet from feeling loud. You wake up and realize your phone hasn't rung in days. The invitations stop coming. Family visits become brief, scheduled, and hurried. People still care, but they're distracted, overwhelmed, or managing their own aging journeys. The lively conversations, spontaneous laughs, and warm touches that once filled your life begin to disappear. No one tells you how different it feels. In your 60s and 70s, your world still feels alive. You go out, people recognize you, you share meals, stories, memories. But after 80, the pace of life around you changes. You start to outlive your people. You start to outgrow the conversations. And it all happens so quietly. So quietly that you don't even notice until one day you do. I once met a man named Harold. He was 85, living in a small town in Oregon. For over a decade, Harold had gone to the same diner every morning. The staff knew his name, his order never changed, and his buddies would meet him there at the same time, same booth, no text needed. It was tradition. It was community. But with time, those friends stopped showing up. One passed away, another moved to live with his daughter in another state, another stopped driving altogether. And the staff, they changed too. One morning, Harold looked up and realized no one knew his name anymore. It's strange, he told me once, to sit in a place that used to feel like home and suddenly feel like a stranger in your own rhythm. That kind of loneliness doesn't shout. It doesn't come with tears or dramatic displays. It's just the sound of a spoon in a coffee cup, a quiet walk home. The ache of a name not said aloud in days. It's not the absence of love, it's the absence of presence. But here's the thing, knowing this reality means you don't have to surrender to it. You can do something about it. You can open new doors even when others have quietly closed. Connection doesn't come as easily at 80, but it's still possible. You just have to be the one to reach first. Join a book club. Call an old friend. Start a weekly lunch with someone from church. Send a handwritten letter. It may feel strange at first, vulnerable even, but that's what courage is. Because after 80, connection won't chase you. You'll have to go find it. But the beautiful truth is if you've made it this far, you already have the courage you need. What used to be brushed off with rest now demands attention. And often there's no going back to how things were before. What makes this stage of life so difficult isn't just the physical discomfort, it's the unpredictability. You can do everything right. Eat balanced meals, walk every morning, sleep early, and still feel like your body is making decisions without your permission. A small stumble on a sidewalk can spiral into weeks of limited mobility. A mild cold that once passed in a couple of days can now linger for weeks. And even after recovery, things don't always return to how they were. Your coordination feels different. Your strength comes and goes. The bounce back you once counted on just isn't there anymore. I remember meeting a woman named Lorraine who was 82 and full of life. She lived in a quiet neighborhood in Ashland, Oregon, and spent most of her mornings tending to her flower beds and evenings reading on her porch swing. She volunteered at the local library, enjoyed going to jazz nights at the community center, and walked a mile a day just to stay active. She was proud of how she kept her independence. But one afternoon, while reaching to prune a branch off her hydrangea bush, she lost her footing. It wasn't a serious fall, no broken bones, no trip to the ER, just a bruised hip and a recommendation to take it easy. She figured a week of rest would fix everything. But it didn't. What followed were months of slower movements, weaker steps, and a fear of falling again that she had never known before. Her daughter Dana, who lived 3 hours away, noticed the change on her next visit. Lorraine no longer walked as confidently. Her once bright energy had dimmed. It wasn't the fall, Lorraine told me later. It was the quiet that came afterward. The stillness that didn't feel like rest, but retreat. That's the part no one warns you about. At this age, even a pause can trigger a decline. Rest doesn't always restore, it can begin to unravel you if you're not careful. And sometimes, even if you are careful, your body still slows down on its own schedule. But here's the truth hidden in all that uncertainty. When you recognize this shift, you begin to live more intentionally. You start listening more closely to your body. You protect your energy not out of fear, but out of deep respect for what your body has carried you through. You begin to see health not as a default setting, but as a responsibility, something to maintain, protect, and nourish. You become more mindful. You stretch more carefully. You eat not just for enjoyment, but for strength. You prioritize sleep not as a luxury, but as medicine. You walk slower, yes, but with more purpose. You rest longer, but with more awareness. And in doing so, even without the bounce, your foundation becomes steadier. You begin to realize that a slower pace doesn't mean weakness. It means wisdom. You're not bouncing back, you're adapting forward. And that in itself is a quiet kind of power. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights helpful, please comment the number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so and tap the notification bell. That way you won't miss any videos that help inform, support, and inspire your journey through aging with grace and strength. Now let's move forward to the next truth. Number 3, a growing need for help. No matter how fiercely independent you are, one of the most difficult truths to accept after 80 is this: you start needing help with things you used to do without a second thought. It doesn't happen all at once. It sneaks in slowly, gently, until one day you hesitate before climbing the stairs. You reach for the banister without realizing it. You skip putting the dishes on the top shelf because it feels just a bit too high. And what's even harder than the physical change is the emotional one, especially for those who've spent decades caring for others, being the helper, the provider, the steady one. The idea of needing assistance, even small occasional assistance, can feel like a threat to your dignity. You might feel embarrassed asking for help. Or worse, you might try to hide the fact that you even need it. But here's the truth: asking for help doesn't make you weaker. It makes you wiser. And we'll explore that with the story of someone who had to learn it the hard way. Next. I'm okay, Harold would say, brushing off his daughter's concern with a tired smile. But over time, her weekly coffee drop-ins turned into something more. They became a ritual, a small, quiet moment of connection. And eventually, Harold, 86, admitted something that even surprised him. It's kind of nice, he said, not having to carry everything alone. That right there is the shift. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Accepting help isn't about giving up your independence, it's about protecting it. Because when you allow someone to help you carry a heavy bag, or take you to an appointment, or even just walk beside you while crossing a slippery driveway, you're not surrendering control. You're securing your ability to keep doing what matters most. And help doesn't always come from people. Sometimes it's a simple rail by the stairs, a grab bar in the shower, a little bench by the front door where you can sit to tie your shoes. These things aren't signs of decline, they're tools for living smarter, and they preserve your dignity, not diminish it. One of the bravest things you can say after 80 is, "I could use a hand." Because the older you get, the more strength it takes to choose peace over pride, safety over stubbornness, and connection over isolation. Now let's talk about something that hits even deeper, number 4, a presence the world begins to overlook. This one isn't about your body or your memory. It's about how the world sees you, or more painfully, how it doesn't. Over time, you begin to feel a kind of quiet invisibility. Not necessarily from your children or close friends, but from the world around you. The barista at the coffee shop greets the person behind you first. The doctor looks at your daughter while explaining your lab results. The store clerk assumes you don't understand how the card machine works. None of it is loud, none of it is cruel, but it's there and it stings. It happens slowly, and at first you brush it off, but eventually it settles in. Because no matter how old we get, we still want to be seen. Not just glanced at, really seen. And when you've lived a full life, served in the military, raised children, led teams, built homes, survived heartbreaks, offered wisdom, it's jarring to feel dismissed because your steps have slowed or your face has changed. I met a woman named Esther, 87, who had spent her life as a high school librarian in Cedar Falls, Iowa. She was sharp, kind, full of stories. She still volunteered at the town library every Thursday afternoon. One day, a younger staff member was giving a tour to some students and shared the history of the library. Esther stood nearby, smiling, ready to chime in. But no one asked her anything. No one even looked her way. When I asked her afterward how she felt, she gave me a soft smile. "I've gotten used to it," she said. But her eyes said more. They told the story of someone who used to be a chapter, now feeling like a footnote. That kind of sadness, it's subtle, but real. And here's the truth. You are not invisible. You are not background noise. You are not decoration on the edges of someone else's life. You are a witness to history, a holder of wisdom, a soul still full of insight and value. Just because the world sometimes forgets doesn't mean you have to. So what can you do? Speak, ask the questions, share the stories, offer the advice, even if no one asks, even if your voice shakes. Vote, laugh out loud, sit at the table, sign your name with pride. You don't have to raise your volume, but don't lower your presence either. I remember something Esther told me a few weeks later after she led a book club for a group of local teens. They listened, and they laughed. And for an hour, I didn't feel like a relic. I felt like a person. That's what reclaiming presence looks like. You may have to remind others that you're still here, but more importantly, you remind yourself. Because the world may not always offer you space, but you have every right to take it. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights meaningful, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to click that button and turn on the bell. That way you'll never miss another message designed to inform, uplift, and empower. Now let's keep going. This isn't something many people talk about. We praise the wisdom that comes with age, the relief of retirement, and the happiness of seeing grandchildren grow. And all of that is real. But there's another reality that often lingers quietly, one that rarely gets voiced. The question that settles in during the quieter hours: what now? If you've spent your life working hard, helping others, raising a family, giving your all, then one day it all slows down. You can start to feel as if your purpose slowed down with it. I once met a man named Harold, 87, who had been a nurse for almost 45 years in rural Kansas. When he finally retired, he felt good, proud, accomplished. But after a few months, a strange stillness began to grow. "No one needs me anymore," he told me one afternoon. His voice was soft, not bitter, just bewildered. But that wasn't true. What he didn't know yet was that purpose doesn't retire. It just evolves. Maybe you no longer clock in or wear a badge, but your value doesn't disappear with your job title. It just takes on a different shape. Maybe you don't build things anymore, but you build confidence in your great-grandkids when you sit and listen to their wild ideas. Maybe you don't host company-wide meetings, but you become a quiet leader when someone is hurting. Maybe you don't solve big national issues, but you solve something much more important: a neighbor's loneliness with nothing more than a kind smile or a shared cup of coffee. The danger of aging isn't the wrinkles or the gray hair. It's the regrets that creep in when we don't redefine our reason for being. We all have chapters we wish we could rewrite, decisions we'd make differently. But the real threat isn't the mistake, it's getting stuck in it. Sitting in the what-ifs too long without using them as fuel to do something meaningful now. When you stop defining purpose by productivity and start defining it by presence, everything begins to shift. You start to notice how much you still have left to offer, not just to the world, but to yourself. Because after 80, the most powerful thing you can do might not be earning applause or chasing legacy. It might be simply waking up with warmth in your heart, curiosity in your mind, and the courage to ask, what small light can I bring today? That's not a burden. That's a gift. That's not regret. That's redemption. And it's never too late to find it. Final thoughts. Reaching your 80s is no small thing. It's not just another number. It's a mountain of memories of trials faced, love given, loss endured, and grace discovered along the way. It's decades of growth packed into one fragile, resilient body. And with that strength comes a new set of challenges, some visible, some silent. Facing these challenges doesn't make you weak. It makes you honest. It means you've lived long enough to understand that life in all its beauty can also be unfair, uncertain, and deeply fragile, but also that it's still worth waking up for. So which part of today's reflection struck a chord with you? Was it the shrinking circle of friendships that suddenly goes quiet? Was it the slower recovery of your body that now speaks more than it listens? Was it the uneasy feeling of needing help when you've always been the one giving it? Or was it that invisible thread of being overlooked by a world too fast to pause for your stories? Maybe it was the ache, the one that surfaces when you realize your sense of purpose has started to fade. Whatever it was, I hope you felt understood. Because the truth is, you are not alone in any of this. Not in the quiet, not in the slowing down, not in the wondering what comes next. And here's the good news, you still have choices. You can choose connection even if it means being the one to reach out first. You can choose to rest, not as surrender, but as self-respect. You can choose to ask for help when you need it and offer it when you can. You can choose to speak up when someone talks over you and speak gently when someone needs compassion. You can choose to forgive yourself for what wasn't done and honor yourself for what was. Because this chapter of life isn't the end, it's the deepest part of the story. The part where your words carry more weight. The part where quiet acts mean more than loud ones ever did. The part where your wisdom, your patience, and your presence become your greatest powers. Thank you for spending this time with us. We'd love to hear from you. Share one thing you took from this reflection and how you plan to live it out. Your voice matters more than you know. And if this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue bringing these messages to those who need them. We look forward to seeing you in the next video. As I reflect on the story of aging after 80, I can't help but think about how it applies to my own journey, even if I'm not quite there yet. The truths in this story aren't just for the elderly, they're a quiet reminder that time moves fast, and the foundations we build today determine the stability we'll rely on tomorrow. I see it already how easy it is to let friendships fade as life gets busy, or how quickly a single injury can change how we move, how we feel, or how confident we are in our own skin. Watching my own parents grow older, I now understand that independence is not about doing everything alone, but about making smart choices, asking for help, and preserving our energy for what matters most. This story challenges me to look ahead with intention. Am I staying connected to people who bring me joy? Am I treating my health as a sacred investment instead of something I'll get to later? Am I redefining purpose not by how busy I am, but by how present and kind I can be? If there's one piece of advice this story gives me, it's to stop waiting. Build your community now. Make wellness a priority now. Learn to ask for help without guilt. Find purpose in today, not in some distant retirement. Because whether you're 30 or 80, the quiet moments of life will come, and when they do, you want to be ready, not regretful. The time to lay the bricks for a meaningful old age isn't someday. It's today. Your future self, wiser, slower, maybe a little lonelier, will thank you for every step you take now with courage, with connection, and with care. If you found this video helpful and meaningful, please comment the number 9 below to let us know you're here. And if it didn't quite hit the mark for you, that's okay. Just give us a like. Your feedback helps us grow and continue creating content that truly matters.